Hey, hey, hey. Welcome back to another episode of Friday Foods and Facts with your favorite guy, me. So, today, I want to talk to you about a little bit of market update and then go into some other things here. As I've been talking to you, for the past couple of weeks, I was going to have a tax professional on, so I will give you the opportunity to speak with them. Right now, just want to touch on the market. So, when it comes to the market, there has been some activity. Rates have been coming down consistently, week over week, not in large increments, but they have been coming down, which, all points towards what I was telling you guys a few months ago that, come second quarter this year, we should be back in good standing with rates. A lot of it has to do with what's going on with taxes. I mean, not taxes, but inflation. And so with, the inflation being where it is, people are spending less money on goods. So then it's causing the cost of goods to come down. So it's, we're battling inflation. But then also some other reports that have been taking place regarding like housing and so on and so forth. So we are moving in the right direction. As far as the actual market itself is concerned, what's been taking place in the real estate housing market, uh, loans are up 25% from where they were last month. So what does that mean? That means that there's more people in the market, which means there's less opportunity coming because there's not as many people putting houses on the market. So if you have more people trying to do business with less inventory, then the opportunities are going to become slim. So I recommend you get your stuff together so that you can get financing, right? Get a house. And if you're self-employed, one of the critical aspects of that is going to be having your taxes filed. So you're going to need a tax professional, which is why I brought Craig Tillman of Tillman Financial on the line here, because it's tax season, right? Like
Yes, it
tax
is.
is now, right? Right. Like I just was reading that the IRS is going to start, taking tax returns come Monday, right?
That is correct.
All right. So then y'all heard it right there from the tax man. Like it's time. So without further ado, I give you Craig Tillman. What you got for the people, my man?
All right, man. Well, yeah, tax season officially starts Monday. And many of you know the importance of getting your taxes done, but in case you don't, I'm pretty much just here to let you know um that when it comes to buying a house, it is very important that you have your taxes done the right way. Um, what I can tell you is that many people try to cut corners um, and not report all of their income, especially when it comes to being self-employed or a private contractor. Um, People think that they can get away with not reporting everything that they make or taking a whole bunch of uh, huge deductions, but it doesn't help you in the long run. And I'm gonna
Yeah.
tell you why. Um, Say for example, you made 100K this past
Uh-huh.
year, but after all expenses paid and you take all your deductions and you choose not to report everything to the IRS, um, you only report 40K. Um, you think you're saving yourself money on the tax bill, but really you're kind of stepping on your own neck, because when it comes to try to buy that house, you're going to want to try to get approved for the biggest loan possible, but they're going to only be able to take into account that 40K that you submitted as what you made. So you you're not going to be able to get approved for the type of house that you want, because if you will have scammed the government. but really you're putting your foot in your own mouth.
Right.
So I would highly suggest that you go ahead, be truthful, submit all of the money that you made throughout the year so that you can get the best loan and the best rate possible for one of the houses that you actually want.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's like I can't tell you how many times.
I know you
How
see it a
many
lot, man. I know you see it a lot.
they be mad at me, like, man, why can't you use all this income? I made
It's it's
$200,000.
not
Yeah, okay, you
it's not his
may,
fault.
but on paper, okay, it says
Hmm.
here that you only made $32,000.
Right,
So I can't give you credit for that other 168,000. Sorry,
right,
but it's a
right.
verifiable income source. Now, there are some things when it does come to self-employed on tax returns. There are certain things that can get added back towards your income. Um, so let's say if you had certain expenditures, um, and you were reporting 40,000 as your adjusted gross income, and you made 100,000, but certain expenditures were on certain line items, that would then maybe, let's say if you had $20,000 on those, then I could actually add that back to your income and change your income from 40,000 to 60,000. So there are some benefits like that, but like a lot of the times when people are trying to cheat the system, they're not putting it in those places. So it still kicks them right in the teeth.
Yep, yep. You got to be truthful. You got to be truthful, man. Especially when you're trying to get a house, like you got to report everything. They got to be able to see everything, and they're going to ask. They're going
Yep.
to ask for proof. They're going to ask for your tax returns, and if they don't look good, neither will your house.
Hey, right.
So,
And like we usually go back 2 years. So
hmm
you're gonna need to have at least your last 2 years of tax returns filed. And I mean, we're in tax season right now. There is a little bit of leeway, being that tax returns are just getting filed right now for 2022. So we would go off of 21 and 20, but you
yep,
only have a slight window until we're going to need 22.
yep,
So it's best just to get ahead of the curve and get it done, unless you're going to file an extension. And if you are going to file an extension, that does give you some more time as far as the numbers you show us, but you have to be able to prove that you filed an extension. Uh, what would you say is the process for the extension? Like, how does that go? Like, how long does it usually take for it to get registered, stuff like that?
it's along the same timeline as filing a regular tax return. Um, Many of the people who know they're going to have a sizable tax bill end up filing the extension. So they usually wait until the last possible date on purpose.
Mm,
Um, but those are not usually the people who are trying to get a house. Those are usually some of your bigger time small business owners or business owners who know that after all of their deductions, they're still going to owe 5, 10, 15, 20 grand, you know, and they just need a little bit more time paying that tax bill off. So for the I guess the regular W-2 employee, I wouldn't recommend filing an extension because there's really no reason for it.
okay. Yeah. Nah. I feel you. That's why, like, just get it done, get it in. Because definitely when it comes to W-2, we're going to need the most recent. We're not going to go off of you know, past 2 year histories of tax returns. We're going to use your W-2 income, which is going to be verified by the IRS, because you're going to sign a document, the 4506C. So that's going to give us the ability to retrieve a tax transcript,
Hmm.
and then we're gonna have that W-2 or that year-end pay stub, showing how much you actually made, so we can verify it from two income sources. This is it, and then we get a written verification of employment from your employer, and that also is going to show the income. So we have it from multiple sources. What you make for W-2, when it comes to self-employed, only way that we can verify is by what the IRS tells us. Anybody can type up a profit and loss. It can say anything. Doesn't mean that the numbers are real. So we
Yep.
need to be able to check it against the source, which is the IRS. And what you tell them you made is what we go off of. But in order to do so, you have to file your taxes.
Yep.
Yeah. So let's see here. What are some common questions you get when people come to you to get your get their taxes done?
Many of the questions that I get are based off of deductions. So people want to know, what can they write off?
Yeah.
And the truth is, if you're a small business owner, it's quite a lot of things that you can write off, but it's percentage based, and there's a lot of things that are taken into account in order for you to get those deductions. It's not a shoe in. It's
Mm-hmm.
not everybody gets to just write everything off. You
Mm-hmm.
know, you're most people, they start these businesses and they don't take into account what you actually can write off.
Mm-hmm.
For example, I had a client um, who thought just because he was a business owner, um, they could just kind of write off their entire life. And like I said, you can you you can write off a lot of things, but it actually has to pertain to the business.
Yeah.
Um, you can't go shopping and write that off. You can't go to Forever 21 or um, wherever you want to go. You can't just write off just stuff. You can't
Uh-huh.
go get some shoes and just write them off because you're a business owner. It actually has to be applicable to the business.
Yeah.
Same with business trips. Um, you can write off a business trip, but it has to be for business. So you can't just go to Florida to visit your aunt and write off the trip. Like it has to be for business.
Yeah.
So if you have a conference that's out of town, if you have a conference that's um in Atlanta or something like that, and they've rented out a big hotel, and you have to stay there in order to go to this 3-day conference, then that's different. You can write off a portion of your flights. You can write off a portion of your hotel stay, um, and whatever else that's needed in order for you to be at that event. So if you have to buy food, you can write off a percentage of the money that you spend to feed yourself because you went to the conference. So things like that. Um, People also ask a lot of questions about um, the home office deductions.
Yeah.
You can you that that's another way to save yourself money. But like I said, it it depends on the amount of your home or apartment, because it applies to apartments too. But it depends on the amount of space that you're using for your business. Most people have an office space if they have a business, so you're allotted a certain amount of square footage for that. I believe it's 300. Um, but there are other things that you can take into account as well, especially if you're self-employed or a business owner and you're running your entire business out of the home. You can
Mm-hmm.
write off a portion of your mortgage or your rent. You can write off a portion of your electricity bill because you need electricity in order to be in business.
Yeah.
You can write off a portion of um, your cable bill. For example, if you have clients that come to the house, um, and you are using um, your TV to entertain guests, or even just your Wi-Fi, because that's necessary for um, you to run your business. You need an internet connection. So those are some of the things that most business owners will be able to take advantage of when filing their taxes.
So, what's the typical percentage that you can write off on like gas and electric and water and stuff if you're working out of your home? Because I mean, I know you can't write it all off because obviously you're not
Right.
working 24/7.
Right.
Like, is it based off like a typical 40-hour work week, and then you cut that into how many hours are actually in the week, or like what? How does that work?
There are percentages, and some of it is estimation.
Mm-hmm.
So what you were saying as far as work week, that would be a good estimation as far as hours throughout the day.
Mm-hmm.
But mainly, there's a simplified method and there's a regular method. The simplified kind of rolls everything into one, and that's where you get that 300 square footage that helps
Okay.
you get that home office deduction for that. But as far as the regular goes, that's a little bit more in depth, and that's kind of a person by person basis because everybody's situation is completely different. So
Mm-hmm.
if you're running, um, I'll just use myself. If you're running a tax business out of your home, your deductions are going to look completely different than somebody who might be running an Amazon store out of their home where they have they use their garage or their basement as storage for their supplies or
Yeah.
or the products that they sell. Um, or someone who does massages, does nails, does hair, or cuts hair out of their house, um, their deductions are going to look totally different than say a tax professional.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody is different, and it's kind of a case by case basis.
Okay. I feel that. Okay. Okay. Um, Man, there was one other thing I wanted to ask you that we had just touched on, and the information is so good. You know, I was like, oh yeah, right. Oh yeah, yeah. So when it comes to because like I, I I understand this part, but like I don't really understand the nuance of it.
Mhm.
But from what I was reading, it says that if you, I know you have to have a door to to close off the space in which that you're trying to write off for your home business, but is it more advantageous to write off, let's say, 500 square feet, or is it better to write off the mortgage interest on a house?
You can write off both.
Oh,
Usually, um, you'll get that mortgage interest in the mail anyway. So
yeah.
that's something that you can write off. That's totally just aside from your deductions. Um, so you can write off both the mortgage interest and the square footage of the office. I mean, that's not, you can do both.
Well, all right. You heard it here first. Yeah, because I I heard that they were trying to mess around with that on like how much interest you could write off for the square footage or something like that, and like I guess like the greater of the two. But like I said, I'm not a tax professional, so I don't know what really came of that. That's why I'm like, hey, what you know.
Yeah, the only reason that you wouldn't be able to take advantage of all your deductions is if you're, say for example, you're married and you start filing separate. Then you can't claim all these different deductions.
Uh-huh. Okay. So what would be the benefit then of being married filing jointly or married filing separately?
Honestly, there's not a whole lot of benefit to filing separate. The
Mm-hmm.
only real benefit and the only real reason that I would ever advise someone to do that is if you're trying to save money or lower your student loan payment. that's when you start getting into being strategic. So if, for example, you want to try to lower that your monthly payment for your student loans, you want to only be able to go off of your income. That's why you would file separate.
Okay.
But if it's manageable, I would always advise for you to always file joint, because there are so many things that you can't write off once you decide to file separate. It's a long list of things.
Oh,
So
wow.
you better be sure, you better be sure that it is worth, you know, looking as if you have cut your household income in half in order to save money on that student loan bill. Because if it's not, you're going to get shafted on a lot of great deductions as a married couple.
Wow. See, I didn't even know it was like that. See, this is why y'all got to call Tillman Financial. They know these things. This stuff I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, so they say that smart people surrounds themselves with people that are smarter than them. That's what I'm doing here. I'm trying to give y'all that same opportunity to talk to someone who knows what they're doing. You know, it'll make everything better for you. So I don't want to get too much deeper into it, because I mean, I know there's a lot more that we can get into it, but a lot of it is a case-by-case scenario. Same thing, you know, with mortgages. So what I'm going to tell you guys to do is take the contact information that's down below, the phone number, website, get in touch with him. They're going to take great care of you, you know, and they're going to figure out what's the best thing for you. Obviously, as you can see here, we just went through a couple of different scenarios, and he knows what he's talking about. You know, he was able to give us information like that, right? So work with someone like that. And you know, hey, there's other benefits that their company provides. Last time that they were on, they talked about the credit services that were available, and then also if you decide to do business with them, there's rewards that come along with it. So be smart, call the right people, which in this scenario, right people, Tillman Financial, right? Give them a call. Their information is below. My information is below. Take it down, give it to your friend, give it to your family. Everybody's going to need it, right? So don't miss out on what's available for you, what's going to make you successful. And without further ado, I am going to give us a good night. And thanks again, man. I appreciate you coming on and sharing your wealth of knowledge with us. And
yeah, man. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh yeah, you're very welcome. Is there anything else you want the people to know?
Get ready for tax season, and obviously come to us.
Yeah. All right, I agree. All right, good people. Well, I will talk to y'all later. Catch us next week. I'm going to have a real estate agent on. We're going to talk about some of the things that they're seeing, some of the opportunities that they can create for you as a buyer. So yeah, I look forward to speaking with you more, and come back later also to find out about $500 off your closing costs. I'll tell you how you can do that too. All right, I'll talk to you soon. See ya.